Okay, so I'm just gonna put this bitch up because, you know, I just got out the shower and stuff like that. I know I'm late to making this video. I try to do everything at an orderly fashion, but I was spending some time with a friend. But I'm finally doing this video. So, this video is about what a reading should be, what our readers or what a reader should be like, as well as what clients should be like as well. And I'm making this video, and I'm also making it a discussion, actually, a discussion, inviting people that have gotten readings as well as people that have never gotten readings, as well as readers and diviners, right? So I'm not really opening up the space for discussions from people that neither believe in getting readings nor believe in giving readings, because it's not really educational, especially because those perspectives are biased, usually from an atheist point of view or a religious point of view, and this is a space for education. So to begin, let us collect where the mindset of where tarot began. So tarot originated from playing cards, right? Oftentimes people used to use playing cards to read, and the original method of divining with cards was used with playing cards. In Italy, the origins of tarot, we finally get something called the Major Arcana. Now, regular tarot is split into 78 cards, where 22 are reserved for the Major Arcana and the rest are for Minor Arcana. Now, the Minor Arcana represent our day-to-day things, life problems, arguments, relationships, friendships, things like that. Like very minor things, including childbirth, including disease, including cures, including all of that. And the minors were originally our playing cards that we use today, with the spades being, the wands, the hearts being the chalices, the cloves being the coins, and so on and so forth. Those suits used to be the original platform for divining, and those came from the playing cards. Now, the 22 major arcanas are where we get our major life circumstances in the deck of the tarot, bringing together the major and the minor life changes and the minor choices in life and daily issues that we face together, making a total of 78 cards in the tarot. We cannot discredit the mindset that tarot really originated with, which you can easily see it from looking at the cards. And that mentality was a Christian mentality. And we know this because when you look at the original cards of the tarot, using specifically, although the Rider-Waite was not the beginning, nor was it the first tarot deck. When we look at the Rider-Waite, which was inspired from Italian artists that created the original tarot, we see things like the Judgment card that actually is written in the book of Revelations to represent that the dead will rise on the time of judgment. We also see elements such as the devil in the tarot. We see elements of death in the tarot. We see elements of two people tied to the chains of the devil when we look at the cards. And typically that is how they demonize, sex or, heterosexual couples, as well as, that we as humans are chained to the devil somehow. So when you see the elements of the tarot, it echoes Christianity, or a time frame when people believed in Christianity. And that is what also inspired the readers of back then. So back then, and I'm starting with back then because the mindset of how diviners were back then and the way that readings used to be are not the way that readings are today. So back then, readings were very much about spiritual circumstances, or everything was met with the idea that the cards were divinely orchestrated to represent what the spirits were saying. So for example, if you got in your tarot the Ace of Chalices, the Devil, and then Death, it would represent to a reader quite that the devil is orchestrating a relationship that you're in right now that will cause you to stress so much and you will die in a number of days. That is how the reading sounded like back then. And back then, again, tarot was used to make money, and it was used to be read literally. So tarot back then was extremely literal. And to a lot of people, it scared the shit out of them. And that is why the concept of tarot used to scare people. Until this day, that fear was generationally passed down. A lot of people thought that tarot was as dangerous as it was being said, practiced, and preached about. And today, especially in the Western world, we have such a higher consciousness to the tarot. Hi, Mamita. We have such a higher consciousness to the tarot that we don't associate death to be literal death, whereas back then in ancient times when the tarot originated, yes, the devil card literally represented the devil, and the death card was literally death. And they used these tactics to make money off of people. And again, usually only the poor or poor neighborhoods and poor communities would adapt these playing cards and use them to divine and make money off the rich. Many travelers used it, and I won't specifically gravitate towards just Romani people used it, but any travelers, there were the Irish travelers, there were Persian travelers, there were Arabic travelers that used the tarot, and over time it began to become a money-making method, but fear being attached to it. So back then things were very literal, and things were extremely scary. Today's day and age, not a lot of people believe in the devil, so they look at the devil card and they're like, well, this is a manipulative person. But back then, it was literally the devil, especially when the environment of when tarot began, it was very Christianized. Everything was extremely Christianized. But now let's bring it to today's day and age. Now, the idea of the devil has been completely stripped from the tarot, and it is no longer a spiritual entity. The tarot card, the devil, and death are no longer those things. Instead, now the consciousness is that the devil is just a manipulative or a lying person, and death is transformation. So, again, and not saying that either is wrong, but in comparison to as the times change and evolution, becomes a part of it, you also as a reader must understand the culture around you. For example, if you are a reader in Iraq and you constantly get the death card in your readings or to your clients, it might literally mean that there is death approaching, because in countries like that, death is common and death is very rampant, especially, with what's going on in the United States. So I say this to say, and I digress, a lot of the meaning of the cards are quite literal when they have to be. But then again, I'll get into a minute how you can determine as a spiritual individual or as, a person or reader, what they mean at the right time. Because again, back then, a lot of people weren't interested in being spiritual readers. They were just hustlers. They were hustlers that used the tarot to make money. And they were not interested in attuning to spiritual energies in order to be better readers. If anything, they were spiritual for themselves and their family members, to be healers for their community, their people, their tribe, but they were not tarot readers to be healers for their community. And this was back then, when the tarot began. Tarot became a spiritual part of Latino communities, Latinx communities. They became a spiritual part of the Black community now, but back then, baby, no. Tarot was not used for all the right reasons. Now it is. Now it's, for guiding people, and now it has been put into better hands, not for worse. But back then, it was a side hustle. It was a gig. It was something you did to make money off the wealthy and the rich. And oftentimes, it was underlined with lies and, with hexes and with very much, I'm desiring this on you so you can keep coming back type of shit. And we can't deny that, because when you look at stereotypes and then you also see the art form of the tarot, you see that there was a time when things were very Christian, as well as, why do we have stereotypes where people believe that gypsies, for example, correctively Romani people, or why tarot readers are liars? Where did all of this come from? And when you do your own research, and I am going to save this live, but when you do your own research, you find that you cannot deny the truth of what people used to use tarot for. But in today's day and age, it is totally not for that. There are there's very rarely anybody using tarot to lie to people, because the extension of the knowledge and the consciousness that has evolved with time using tarot is very different, right? Like a lot of people that are using tarot are very intelligent people. A lot of them are scholars, people that, you know, finished grade school. A lot of them are psychologists. A lot of them use tools such as divination like tarot to heal people. It is not necessarily to lie anymore. But back then, like I said, we cannot deny the truth and the history of tarot. It was to lie. Now, I digress. So I went into that. Okay, so I also went into my key 3 points, which is the history of tarot, the money tactics of tarot back then and today, as well as the modern take on tarot in comparison to back then. Now, let's get into it a little bit more. This is the main focus now of this, you know, this video and this live. So, number one, I'm going to speak to everyone from the perspective of a reader as well as from the perspective of a client now. So as a reader, I expect my clients, for example, to not tell me anything. And from a modern perspective reader, I digress. Give me 1 second. Before I speak on clients, I'm going to speak on my behavior, myself, what I think I should be as a reader before I read other people. Number one, as a reader, I do believe that, and this is open to interpretation, but as a reader, I do believe that I am responsible towards integrity. And that is just because my background spirituality is voodoo. So I am obligated to integrity. And again, every tarot reader either has a spiritual path, a spiritual tradition, or has no religion at all. I have my own. So in my tradition and my religion, we are held accountable for our integrity. So as a tarot reader, I bring that forth. And again, tarot is just a divination tool. It amplifies the person. And me, it amplifies me as a witch. So as a witch, as a servitor of the Loa, as a servitor and worshiper of God, I'm held accountable for my integrity. So I must be honest with the individual. So am I an honest person is the question that I should be asking myself before I help somebody else. As a tarot reader, I must ask myself, am I doing this, to help others or to help myself? Questions you must ask yourself. Because again, just for myself, this is to help other people. Once I have that question answered, then I move forward. As a tarot reader, I must also ask myself, is the information I'm receiving from spirit or from the meaning of the cards based on my own bias? Once I am able to understand that my bias has nothing to do with the reading that is being given, it's important, and I know that I am to move forward, because a lot of readers till this day, they have biases about persons, places, and things, and when they give readings to other people, those biases are tapped into. And I noticed that some readers would literally tell you, oh, I don't see black people in your path, or I don't see you dating a white man, and it's like, is that your bias or mine? You know what I'm saying? So as a reader, you must step out of your own bias and allow for spirit to speak. And a lot of readers that can't do that will literally look stupid or be told that they are a fraud, because when a certain bias doesn't match or resonate with your client, you must accept their truth and not yours. And oftentimes when people read other people, they love to give their own truth as if it's the client's truth, and that's not, But again, as a reader, I must digress myself. I must step myself away from what spirit is saying. So another thing too is, as a reader, you must make sure that you are giving the absolute highest remedy for any situation that is appearing in the cards. For example, if you see that in the cards there is an approaching or an impending death, what are you as a reader going to recommend for this person now? Now you just gave this tragic information. Now you just had someone understand that death is coming. What are you going to do as a reader? Me as a reader, if in the case that death is coming, I will let this person know, and I do not sugarcoat things. I feel that especially a lot of readers, they do not have a spiritual relationship with spirits at all. They oftentimes read based on the meaning of the cards, and so when spirit tells me something and it is in complete disregard to the reading, and I give this information, I am obligated to be honest and be very clear about the information, therefore I am giving. So if the information was, hey, your mother's gonna die in a few weeks, baby, okay, now what the fuck am I about to smack you with to make you feel better? And as a reader, you must be willing and very ready to give a remedy for every issue. Okay, if there is death, then what? Me, if I was in those shoes as a reader, I would tell you, well, death is coming. I need you to prepare by being there for the family member, being supportive, making sure that you have a relationship with X, Y, and Z. And if you so choose to, that's on you. But I must allow for you to have the opportunity to understand that what you do before this person passes on is entirely in your power. And you must have, at least if you so choose to, a relationship with the person before they die. Because literally once they die, all you have is memories. And if the last memories you want to have is, I'm mad at you, that's on you. But as a reader, I must let you know what you can do, because a lot of people in those moments also tend to forget what's the best remedy for those types of situations. So again, digressing, as a reader, I must have a remedy for every problem that appears to me, whether it's by the meaning of the cards or spirit is letting me know. Now, let's move on. I gave you guys all the pointers as readers, what you should be doing. So to digress and to give you all the synopsis, as a reader, you must be concise and clear. You must be in control of your own emotions, as well as, you must be stepping away from your own bias. So understanding your own psychology, understanding your own tone and your own demeanor, because you don't want to be forceful to somebody that may be sensitive in a certain topic. Also very important, your tone, your energy, and your demeanor is also projected onto the person willing to receive, which is a client. You know what I mean? However, if you do encounter a very disrespectful client, which does come, you must understand also how to address those similar situations. And for those of you that have been through customer service experience, you should understand that you will treat this client accordingly. If they are being disrespectful, how do you approach this? Well, number one, you remain in your own position. You become aware of self. And unless you have a reason to be defensive, you should not be offensive. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about also standing your ground, understanding how to remain professional. You are only here to guide. If they do not want to accept that guidance, that is on them. But you have a job as a reader. So you must keep yourself in control, complete control, watching your mouth, watching your lips, watching your mind. Because as a witch who is entirely aware and hyper aware of himself, and when I say himself, I'm also applying this to any readers, you must be very well aware of what you're doing, what you're saying, and how that can affect the emotions, especially of an EDP, which we use that terminology in security to represent an emotionally disturbed person. So if you are reading an EDP, you must understand how what you say and what you do can trigger this individual. So as a reader, learn always how to communicate, how to bring a proper demeanor, and how to keep things professional at all times. Now, moving forward, as a client, this is what I would expect. Because as a client, I have been a client for a few people in my entire life, and this is what I expect. Number one, as a client, if I am troubled, or if I have questions to be answered, I expect for you to know everything. Just like when I read people, I don't ask you, do you work? Are you in a relationship? None of my clients can ever say that I've ever asked those questions, such as, do you work? Are you in a relationship? I don't ask questions such as, how was your week? What's on your mind? I don't ask questions such as, have you been able to sleep? None of that. Literally, the only question that all of my clients know I ask them, especially in the beginning of a reading, is, what is your full name? That is all I ask for. So as a client, and I mean, it may be rough that I expect this of all readings, but I don't expect you to ask me those types of questions, because those types of questions are probing questions in my opinion. And as a client, I don't like to be probed. I like for you to know. What do the cards say, girl? Talk to me. What do the spirits say? As a reader, I know that I do not ask those questions. I don't ask probing questions. The cards will tell me if you're in a relationship. The cards will tell me if you're homeless. The cards will literally tell me, if you are in need of money, or if you're completely broke, and what you need to be doing. And sometimes the cards won't even say it. Spirit will tell me everything, because I till this day do not read cards based off of their meaning. I go entirely based off of what my spirits tell me. So if you start asking me probing questions, I immediately know that A, either my spirits aren't letting you read me, or B, you just don't have a relationship with spirit at all. And that is why you cannot read me. Because when you are reading people such as initiates, such as loa servidores, such as espiritistas, sometimes their spirits will not allow you to read them. especially heavily protected individuals. So unless you have a relationship with spirit, you will not be able to read certain people. So as a reader myself, I must have a relationship with my guides and my loa and my higher beings, because they are ultimately giving me permission to read somebody no matter how protected they are. And I have read over hundreds of people. Like, I have all of my followers on Instagram that testify for these truths. And in all honesty, every single one of them, I begin my readings with, what is your full name? I do not ask you probing questions. So, and that is, again, what I expect as a client. As a client, I do not expect you to ask me how my day was. I don't have to tell you. What do the cards say? What are your spirits telling you? You know what I'm saying? But again, I digress. So as a client, I also expect, utter respect. I expect, unbiased information. I expect a remedy to anything you see in those cards. I expect, for the person reading me also to treat me with love and respect, just as I come to you for help with love and respect in my heart. You know what I'm saying? I also expect that if, you are connected with Loa, you know what the fuck I walk with. You know what I mean? Like, these are just things that I expect as a client. When it comes to money, as a reader, you should never, this is just my opinion, you should never do, what's the word? You should never diminish yourself or devalue yourself, but you should also understand the socio-economy of where you are reading. So if you are reading in a rich neighborhood, obviously value your fucking self at a higher price. If you are reading in a poor neighborhood, watch who you're reading, because in poor neighborhoods and in urban neighborhoods, for example, you never want to add too much price, because ultimately the goal is to help and guide people, but your time is money. Therefore, anytime you are reading people, you must have, an understanding that if you're reading people, baby, your time is money. And sometimes people break down. People have broken down in front of me, people have cried. Okay? I gotta get paid for my time. I got spirits I gotta serve, and they're the ones giving me the information about you. So if I gotta serve them, you understand? So as a reader, understand the socio-economy of your culture. If your culture is doing bad, there isn't enough money flowing into your community, you should not be charging fucking $80 for a reading. You understand what I'm saying? If you are in a rich neighborhood, however, where wealth is very common, baby, you want to go $250, you go $250, doll. You want to go $300 for a reading, that's on you, baby. But just understand also that as a reader, your price gotta match your value, feel me? Like, your price gotta match your service, okay? Because at the end of the day, I feel same with products, same with readings. Your price, you should be giving what people paid for. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I expect that if I'm paying $250, motherfucker, I better walk out of this reading with something new. You feel me? But that's, again, if I'm out here paying, like, dropping $250 on a reading. But I digress. Just what I'm saying, you gotta match your price at all times. Anytime you're like putting ass and you are putting in work, baby, and I'm talking about like you are doing hour-and-a-half readings, you are cracking down on this person's life, like you are just da 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 da. Okay, well, that deserves its motherfucking money, not just $20, feel me? But it's about, understanding that, number one, there always must be a price as a reader. There always must be a price, because just like in the spirit realm, nothing is free. Baby, anytime you help people, whether it's through therapizing people, and listen, when you are a reader, you are therapizing people. Like, you are helping. That shit is therapy, feel me? Like, and for a lot of people, it really does save people's lives. So if you are out here tarot reading, whether you are a novice, an intermediate, or a beginner tarot reader, put a price, baby. Whether it's $5, it's $1, it does not matter, but put a price until you get better, and the better you get, the higher the price. Feel me? Like, but again, socio-economy, understanding the economy of your culture. You never want to do too much. I feel personally, in black and brown neighborhoods where it is urban black and brown neighborhoods, the price should not exceed more than $50, and that's max. Okay, I'm not disclosing my price, but that's max in my opinion. especially poor neighborhoods. Ugh. And that's still, like, that's a gag, but $50 max, my opinion. Suburban neighborhoods now, who we're talking wealthier people, max, in my opinion, $80. Or minimum, depending, right? But again, I digress. These are just my opinions regarding price ranges and things like that. And they are keeping the awareness of the socio-economy. So I just wanted to leave this information with you guys. I'm totally down to opening this discussion up to anybody that also wants to add to the addition of what you expect out of a reading. But again, out of a reading, I expect, in a synopsis, as a reader, I expect, my clients to be respectful, my clients to be 100% honest, because it is so embarrassing. I remember one time one of my clients was lying to me, a few of them have, or hiding the full truth, and my spirit would smack the shit out of them, with words, by telling me exactly the truth that there really is. And it's so embarrassing. I mean, I feel embarrassed for the person, just don't lie, because when spirit tells me the truth, I'm gonna lay it on the table, baby, because I can't lie to you. You want to lie to me, that's totally fine, but I can't lie to you. And when spirit tells me the truth, you're gonna gag. So as a reader, always have a relationship with spirit. Always have a relationship with God. And you are going to encounter, like I have, people that are not entirely up there. EDPs, like I was mentioning, emotionally disturbed people. Some emotionally disturbed people will be carrying weapons on them. Some emotionally disturbed person will be trying to escape a crime. Some of these emotionally disturbed people will be traumatized, will be, art veterans, will be, I've seen it all. So as a reader, if you are reading the community, baby, and you really get up there, you gotta understand also how to handle certain personalities, attitudes, and people, okay? And they will remember you. So always understanding how to keep things concise, clear, and precise, and also very professional. As a client, what do I expect? As a client, I always tell people, expect honesty, expect, like, if the spirit speaks to you blunt, don't be sensitive either. That's another thing. As a client, I've been a client before, and sometimes spirit has to be extremely rude for me to motherfucking get the message. It's just what it has to be, darling. Like, and I have gagged in readings before. Like, I'm just like, oh wow, like, really? That's what it is? That's what it's giving? And I gotta pay it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I leave you guys with this beautiful message on what to expect out of tarot readings and what a tarot reading should be like. In a synopsis, gave you guys some cute little history facts on the origins of tarot, and gave you guys the perspective of a reader as well as of a client. So, is there a difference in accuracy with phone readings versus in person? No. At the end of the day, the cards will still have their core meanings. And if the person is connected to spirit, regardless of where you are in the world, that person should be able to tap in to give you the proper message. There, is no such thing as, like, I know that a lot of people feel uncomfortable because it is a modern thing to do readings over the phone, but it does not cut the miracles that God can do. Like, God keeps us all connected, and technically we are still all connected. So regardless of where you are in the world, if spirit got a message for you, baby, and you're not getting it elsewhere, spirit is going to give it to you, whether it's in Dominican Republic, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Iraq. Spirit got to give you a message, it is going to come through. So, no. 110%, I can testify that there is no difference between getting a reading over the phone and getting one in person. If anything, with what's going on during this pandemic, if you can get it over the phone, that would be not only smarter, but that would also be, efficient too, because you could be home, pull out your coffee or your sugar water in order, if the news is bad, so you could just relax and kablam. You got yourself a reading, you know what the fuck to do, and you home chilling. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, I digress. I just want you guys to know that there is many, many beautiful tarot readers. And I will say this, I feel in my personal heart that gay people and women are blessed readers. Not discrediting men, but I say this because gay people and women, no matter whether you're cisgendered or you are polyamorous, it doesn't matter. It's just as a person that is in tune with their feminine energy, your readings are going to be so much more different than someone that is only in tune with their masculine energy. Because when you're in tune with your feminine energy, a lot of times you open up yourself to the world. I'm not going to get too much into that type of philosophy, but for those that understand what female and feminine energy can do, just imagine the yoni, and the yoni is one that receives, and feminine energy receives energy. Feminine energy is a nurturer of energy. So as a woman or a gay man that is in tune with their feminine energy, and when I say feminine energy, I do not mean gender-based things. I mean an openness, a receptivity, a consciousness to be receptive. When you are a receptive person, whether you're a man or woman, and I just say gay men and women are the best readers because they are so receptive to energy. Therefore, their readings will be receptive to spirit guides, Loa, Orisha, God, messages from the Holy Spirit, XY. And their readings are so much more concise, so much more comforting, nurturing, and things like that. But men can get it too, baby. Straight men can get it too, heterosexual, cisgendered, all that. Y'all can get there too, but y'all have to have an openness to feminine energy. You have to tap into that because feminine energy is the ruling energy. And I'm not talking about feminism, I'm talking about creation. Okay, feminine energy is just it. So, love you all. If y'all need me to source my information, I am more than 100% ready and willing to credit all of the black women in my life that have taught me many beautiful things, from Puerto Ricans to African Americans to Caribbean women. I mean, women have literally made me who the hell I am. And a lot of those women too are Loa. So, darling love, Lucy Progreso to everybody. Love you lots.